This summer's heat waves and lack of rain have led to a sharp drop in the levels of Germany's inland waterways. The Rhine River's water level has sunk to record lows. That's taking a heavy toll on commercial shipping as vessels have to take lighter loads or not run at all.
It is, according to the great German romantic poet Friedrich Hölderlin, the noblest of rivers, the freeborn Rhine. But a sustained heat wave and little precipitation have brought this mighty river low, dangerously low, posing major challenges for German industry. A week ago, it was the exposure of wrecks and war debris, including this bomb on the riverbank in Cologne. But now commercial shipping along the full length of the Rhine River could soon become impossible. The current level is already threatening the economy and logistics sector, which depends on the waterway for supply chain efficiency. Yes, it is, of course, a very challenging situation. We have record low levels on the Rhine and also in the harbour. That means it presents us with big challenges that we have to overcome. Other supporting transportation methods are also fragile. It seems the only plan is to wait for rain. We are already at the point where not much more is needed before nothing works at all, and currently it's always difficult to make forecasts over a longer period. We probably won't be able to really breathe a sigh of relief until around mid to late September, when more rainfall is expected. The danger of the river becoming unnavigable now seems all too real. North Rhine-Westphalia's transportation minister is calling for more funding from the federal government to tackle the problem. Scientists warned as long as 20 years ago that the Rhine could carry very little water or, in extreme cases, even run dry. We are now seeing that such scenarios, which were merely laughed at in the past, are now threatening to become a reality. The climate crisis is hitting us with full force, and that is why we must take action on climate protection. As climate change-induced heat waves ravage Europe with wildfires, the Rhine, a key artery for many industries in Germany, is drying up.
DW reporter Aline Spante is covering this story and joins us now from Kalb on the banks of the River Rhine. Aline, what's the river like where you are?
Well, the air feels hot and dry, and I'm standing in a riverbed right now that is very dry. And normally you would see water here. But right now I'm just standing on dry ground. The stones, they are gray, they are covered in mud, with dried mud that is cracking because of the summer heat. And I sense some, smell of algae in the air because the riverbank is, way more dry than usual. And if I look right and left, I see the trees, and they don't have green, lush leaves. The leaves, they are yellow, they are brown, and they are just suffering from, too little water. It was very hot over the last days and weeks, and that's why water levels were running low here at the Rhine River, one of the most important transport rivers in Europe and Germany's most important transport river.
So we can see a little bit of water behind you there in the river, but you're obviously standing at a place where normally there would be quite a bit of water in the Rhine River that would be carrying boats. There are concerns that low water levels brought on by climate change could make the Rhine impassable, effectively splitting it in two. Tell us what that would mean for shipping.
There are concerns indeed. There were concerns that the Rhine could split in two or break in two as soon as this week, effectively making the river impassable. You'll have to imagine it like that around this location where I'm standing on right now, there's a critical stretch where water levels are especially low. And here is the critical markers where shippers decide if they can continue shipping or not. So when we talk about splitting the river in two, it effectively means that there is the stretch here that could be impossible because of low water levels for many ships. And then if you would go more north towards important ports of Belgium and Netherlands and in Germany, that this would be one section that is still possible for ships, but that then would be disconnected because this dry stretch where I'm standing on right now is impossible. And then you would have the second part that would go more towards south and into southeast Europe. So you could see it as a split, because for many ships it's not possible to pass here anymore. But authorities were pretty clear that they said we are not prohibiting shipping. So there are some ships for which it's still possible to pass here. It's often special ships that are designed for low water. So some ships can still pass through, but it's more a handful of ships that can pass through. But usually it's dozens. And many ships, they cannot pass anymore. So it's not a split that the authorities say it's prohibited. It's more that companies have to decide if it's still profitable for them. Because, of course, if a ship can load only very little containers, then it becomes very expensive for the clients. I talked to one shipper and he told me he's now charging 10 times as much. So the shipping company has to decide, is this still profitable? The client has to decide, am I willing to pay this? And yes, it's still possible to ship. It's just way more expensive. So many ships, they have to decide, okay, it's not possible for me. But authorities are saying we will not prohibit shipping.
So you're getting into the economics of this, and the implications are profound. The Rhine is one of Europe's key trade routes. What's being done to limit the impact on communities and businesses?
Well, a short-term fix that has recently been introduced is that Germany now is breaking its own rule. Normally, trucks cannot drive on Sundays, but now in some states, trucks are allowed to drive on Sundays. So this helps to bridge the critical stretch with trucks. But the problem here is that most of those trucks, they are still running on fossil fuels. And that, of course, creates emissions, which contributes to climate change and river droughts, which is one of the reasons why we are in this situation at the first place. So this is only a short-term fix, but of course, the impact on local communities and on the industry is huge. We already saw some companies that had to reduce their capacity. I just talked to one worker from a chemical company, and he told me, his boss told him he doesn't have to come the next days because they cannot operate. Same for the ferries here. The ferries are not crossing anymore. And I just spoke to some disappointed tourists that came here to Germany to visit the picturesque castles that are next to the Rhine, but they couldn't cross because the ferries can't operate. And then I talked to one of the workers from the ferry, and he also told me his boss told him, don't expect that we are going back to work within days or weeks. So there's impact on tourism, there's impact on local residents, but also very significantly there's impact on the German industry. There are just some afraid that you need the ships to carry this bulky stuff, and the chemical industry relies on it, the steel industry. And if those ships can't run, it means they can't get their raw material. So it's those heavy, bulky things that are difficult now to transport, but also, for example, soybeans, with which you can feed animal, and that in the long run will also, or can show in the prices in the supermarket, because if the transportation becomes more expensive, in the beginning it may hit the industry more, but in the end, you can also see it in the supermarkets.
This is not the first time that the Rhine is experiencing exceptionally low water levels. I, as a journalist, have covered it before. Have previous episodes led to any changes or improvements that are helping today?
That is indeed not the first time, but what's special this year is that the low water levels came way early in the year than many expected. There are some shipping companies that were prepared. I was on one of the ships that was a special ship that was especially designed for low water. You can imagine it more like a box that is floating, more bulky instead of being designed streamlined. And it also had a smaller propeller, so it can operate on those low water levels. So those kind of special ships, they can still pass through here, even if water levels are low. But the problem is that when water levels are higher, those ships are not as efficient, which means shipping companies, they have to invest in those special ships. It's expensive. They are not as efficient when water levels are higher. So yes, they are prepared, but it's also a disadvantage for those shipping companies if they have to run those ships with higher water levels. But yeah, those special ship designs is one of the learnings we have from the past. And also Germany is now working out an early alert system, so shipping companies know earlier if water levels are going to drop so they can prepare themselves.
Aline, thank you so much. That was DW's Aline Spantig on the River Rhine.